as far as the 12th day of the Iran and Israel conflict is concerned. Let's first take you through the top 6 headlines that we are tracking. A ceasefire that was never. Hours after Donald Trump claimed that he brokered peace between the arch rivals Iran and Israel, he was left with red face with the ceasefire violation in just few hours. Iran today struck the largest city in southern Israel, Bir Shabba. We have a ground report from there. And Israel vowed revenge. They said that Iran will have to pay back for committing a sin by striking the residential areas. So the question really is, ladies and gentlemen, who really won? Is it Israel, is it Iran, or is it the United States? Meanwhile, keeping in mind the escalating tension, India is getting back Indians from the conflict-affected region with Operation Sindhu in full swing. And finally, we get you the details of the NATO meeting amid escalating tension in West Asia. So these are the 6 stories that we have lined up for you on this edition, starting first up with the top story. A ceasefire announcement by the United States, a denial by Tehran, followed by a U-turn, and then the Iranian missile strikes. All of them together culminating for a ceasefire violation by Iran. This marked the latest development in the 12-day-long Israel-Iran war. It was in the wee hours today when the United States President Donald Trump claimed that Israel and Iran had reached a complete and total ceasefire agreement, effectively ending what he called the 12-day war. However, Iran issued a quick denial to say that no such agreement had been reached, and that only for it to issue a statement later on indicating that the fighting from its side has been paused. Just moments after, in fact, to be precise, 2.5 hours later, these developments, notwithstanding, showed visuals of how an Iranian missile attack on Israel trickled in, with Tel Aviv claiming that at least 4 people had been killed and 6 have been wounded in airstrikes launched after the Trump announced ceasefire. An embarrassed and quote-unquote unhappy Trump had to say this after the ceasefire that was never. Listen in.
Happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous.
How will you respond if the ceasefire is fired?
I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either. And all I do is play both sides. I'm going now, as you know, to NATO. Some of you are going with me, and I think it's going to be successful. We'll see. I'll let you know.
A major turning point, or maybe just a false hope. In the Israel-Iran conflict, after nearly 2 weeks of deadly missile attacks and retaliations, the United States President Donald Trump today in the early hours declared a ceasefire. But while Trump announced peace, the reality on ground told a completely different story. Missile launches continued, civilians were killed, and fighting carried on. In the past 24 hours, ladies and gentlemen, confusion and violence persisted despite the high-profile diplomacy. Here's how the events unfolded.
At exactly 3:30 a.m., a new post appeared on Donald Trump's Truth social handle. It was the announcement the world had been waiting for, but never imagined would come this soon. US President Donald Trump declared a total ceasefire in the raging Israel-Iran war. But just moments before Trump's post, Iran's foreign minister publicly rejected any talk of a ceasefire. In fact, Iran's foreign minister boasted that Iran's military operations continued until the very last minute. His message was crystal clear: Iran was not backing down. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei doubled down, declaring that Iran is not a nation that would ever surrender. Even as Iran openly defied the ceasefire, Team Trump doubled down on its narrative of victory. Trump claimed that Israel and Iran came to him almost simultaneously, and one word: peace. He hailed it as a moment of love, prosperity, and divine blessing for both the nations. US Vice President J.D. Vance called it a historic moment, claiming Iran's nuclear program has been obliterated. The so-called 12-day war was over, he said, thanks to Trump's leadership. US intelligence chief Tulsi Gabbard declared that only President Trump could have achieved this breakthrough, calling it a Herculean effort that deserved global applause. But here's the reality. There were no terms, no signed agreements, just rapid-fire social media posts. On the ground, missiles kept lighting up Israel's night skies. The ceasefire seems to exist only on Trump's timeline. Iran unleashed wave after wave of missile barrages on southern Israel. Residential buildings were destroyed, civilians were killed. The rescue teams pulling out bodies from the rubble painted a grim picture of the so-called ceasefire. Even as the world clung to the hope of peace, Israel's warplanes were already striking Iranian military targets. Sirens scream across Israeli cities as the IDF urged civilians to rush into bomb shelters. But soon, missile alerts exploded in northern Israel as well. The Israeli Defense Forces officially confirmed what many already feared: the ceasefire had collapsed. Fresh missile launches from Iran left no doubt the war was still on. What was supposed to end this brutal chapter has only thrown the region into deeper chaos. Trump's so-called ceasefire did not bring peace to the Middle East, it triggered more questions, more attacks, and more bloodshed.
Now, the United States President Donald Trump may have announced a ceasefire, but on the ground, the reality gave a completely different picture, where the Iranian missile continued to hit residential buildings across the southern Israel. According to the rescue teams, the death toll is mounting quick, with search for survivors that are still underway. Here's the story of Bir Shabba.
The heaviest missiles of the Iranians, it's called Qadr. It's way above 400 kilos. Landed here specifically to kill women, children.
Firefighters scanning the debris of what was a residential apartment before the missile impact. Iranian missiles shook the streets of Tel Aviv today as the fragile hopes of peace crumbled under fresh missile fire. US President Donald Trump announced a complete and total ceasefire between Israel and Iran after Iran's limited missile strike on a US military base in Qatar late Monday. But the reality on the ground tells a different story. Iran's foreign minister had set a clear deadline at 4 a.m. local Tehran time. If Israel stopped its strikes by then, Iran would halt its own. But even an hour after that deadline passed, the missiles kept coming. Israel's military sounded urgent warnings, confirming new missile launches from Iran. In the skies over Jerusalem, Israeli missile defense systems were seen intercepting incoming threats. Soon after, Israel's Home Front Command issued another nationwide alert, warning that yet another barrage from Iran was on its way. Trump, posting on his Truth social account, said the ceasefire would officially begin around midnight Eastern Time today. He called it an official end to the war. But on the ground, the war was far from over. Israel's paramedic service, Magen David Adom, confirmed that 3 people were critically injured after an Iranian missile struck a residential area. A 7-story building in southern Israel's Bir Shabba suffered a direct hit. The entire face of the building was blown apart. Rescue workers rushed to the scene. Israeli firefighters confirmed they retrieved 4 bodies from the rubble and were searching for more survivors. For nearly 2 hours this morning, waves of Iranian missiles forced Israelis across the country to seek shelter as sirens blared and explosions echoed. The launches came after Tehran's deadline, testing the very core of the ceasefire agreement. Trump's ceasefire plan, announced just hours earlier, has now been accepted by Israel. With missiles still flying and lives still at risk, peace remains a distant promise.
Now, in a complete collapse of a ceasefire, ladies and gentlemen, Iran continued to attack Israel. Today, like we just told you, Bir Shabba was the city in southern Israel that was hit. Let us take you frame by the damage and destruction that was caused from both sides, Iran and Israel. Now, initial reports came in just a short while back on explosions that happened in Tehran in Iran. The visuals of the same are on your screen right now. The report said that the Israeli Air Force has carried out a symbolic airstrike in the north of Tehran. Firefighter jets are now returning to Israel. Meanwhile, what we also saw is that earlier today, there were 4 people, nearly now mounting to 8, that were killed, and at least 22 others were injured today morning when Iran fired missiles at Israel's Bir Shabba. 2 missiles were fired at Bir Shabba in a salvo, with one being intercepted and the other striking the 6th floor of an apartment complex in the southern city, causing extensive destruction. Now, the Israeli military said that it struck missile launchers in western Iran, which were ready to fire towards the Israeli territory. This is a video that was released by the Israeli Defense Forces showing their action. Also on your screens now, you can see the damaged buildings and cars in southern Israel following the missile that were launched from Iran. The residential building in southern Israel sustained heavy damage. The face of the large 7-story building appeared completely blown off. On your screens, you can also see now the rescue services carrying out a body with wrapped cloth on a stretcher. The search and rescue team said that they retrieved 4 bodies from one building in Bir Shabba and were searching for more survivors trapped under the rubble. Meanwhile, sirens and explosions were also heard in Tel Aviv with the early hours of today, with the United States President Donald Trump announced that Israel and Iran had agreed to a complete and total ceasefire. But the status of a possible ceasefire remained completely unclear as attacks continued. So it's strike versus strike that is still escalating. The situation, rather than getting normal, is only and only intensifying with each passing hour. It was on Monday morning, remember, ladies and gentlemen, when Iran's Supreme National Security Council held an emergency meeting to discuss striking back against the United States. The Americans had bombed 3 of Iran's main nuclear facilities with over the weekend. Yet another serious blow after a week of attacks by Israel had inflicted severe damage to Iran's military leadership and infrastructure. Iran needed to save face. From inside a bunker, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei sent an order to strike back, according to 4 Iranian officials familiar with the war that was about the planning. Today, in the wee hours, Trump announced ceasefire. And remember, this was a unilateral decision because neither did Iran nor did Israel issue any statement very soon. It took 2.5 hours, just 2.5 hours, to violate the same ceasefire agreement that was reached. So the question that we are asking here today is who actually won? Is it Israel who claims that they have superiority over Iran? Is it Iran that says that they have struck Israel's core? Or is it Donald Trump who claimed to have brokered the ceasefire, which was violated in just few hours? To give us more insight on this, I'm being joined by Akiva Spiegelman. He is a media and international affairs consultant. Akiva, thank you very much for speaking to Republic. There seems to be no end in respite, of course. Donald Trump has been left completely red-faced, completely embarrassed yet again after he announced that a ceasefire agreement has been reached. And in just a few hours, it was violated. Where do you think this is heading towards?
I think as of now, it's somewhat of a soulmate. We have Iran and Israel. There is no clear winner. We managed to implement strong damage to Iran. We've hurt their nuclear program. We've taken it years back with the help of the United States. I'm grateful for it. With that being said, I don't think the job is done yet. They still are threatening Israel. They still have nuclear ambitions. And as long as they have those two at the top of their mind, there's no end in sight. And even a deal, if were to be reached, it would have to come with a lot of circumstances with them no longer threatening Israel, not shooting missiles towards Israel, and stopping the nuclear program. Otherwise, there's nowhere to go.
Absolutely, Akiva. Thank you very much for sharing those insights. We look forward to hearing from you again. We quickly move on in the broadcast to the other angles that we're tracking in regard to the same story. Now, in response to the heightened tensions in conflict-affected areas in West Asia, around 2,000 national Indians have been brought home from Iran under Operation Sindhu. Now, the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal said that nearly 300 nationals have been brought back to New Delhi from Iran's Mashhad. Now, a special flight that was carrying them did land today in the wee hours. The Indian Air Force has stated that it remains committed as a first responder to both assisting within the country and across the globe in times of need. The IAF has commenced missions from Jordan and Egypt to evacuate Indian nationals and citizens of friendly countries. Here's what the evacuees said on the situation that they were stuck in.
Operation Sindhu is now underway in full swing. Amid rising tensions in West Asia, Indian government continues on their mission of bringing back Indian nationals home. Tirangas in hand, 286 evacuees have returned back from Iran, which includes 281 Indians, 3 Sri Lankans and 2 Nepalese.
बहुत ही अच्छा इंतज़ाम था और हमारी सरकार को बहुत ही थैंक्स है कि वो हमें यहाँ तक लाई।
हम अभी ज़ियारतों को गए थे 25 अप्रैल को, फिर वहाँ ये वो हो गया तो उसमें रुक गए। हमारी गवर्नमेंट ने अच्छा काम किया है, जिससे हमें ये वो लग रहा है कि बहुत अच्छा यही होना चाहिए भाईचारा के सब इतने सारे यानी जितने भी हमारे साथी थे वहाँ पे लोग रह रहे थे, कई हज़ार उनको लेकर आए वहाँ से।
ईरान में मशहद में रहता था, तकरीबन 2011 से मैं वहाँ पे था और बड़ा ही अच्छा दिन गुजरे हैं वहाँ पर। और मैं इंडियन गवर्नमेंट का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया और धन्यवाद कहना चाहता हूँ कि उन्होंने हमारी बहुत मदद की है। बहुत ही ज़बरदस्त नीति है मोदी जी की है और पूरे हिंदुस्तान को इस पर गर्व करना चाहिए कि मोदी जी जिस तरीके से अपने देशवासियों की परवाह करते हैं, उनको देखते हैं कि वो कोई मुसीबत में तो नहीं है और अगर मुसीबत में होते हैं तो उनको अपने देश में वापस बुलाते हैं।
The total number of Indians brought back from Iran has now reached to 2,576. As more Indians return, the government stays relentless in their work to bring back Indian nationals who want to return home.
All right, joining us on the broadcast is Faizan Nabi. He is one of the evacuees that was brought safely back home from the affected area, from the conflict-affected areas. Faizan Nabi, thank you very much for speaking to Republic. Pehli baat, first thing that I want to know from you is how is the situation there where you were stuck?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes,
I hope
yes, you are audible, yes.
Thank you. I actually was based in Kerman, Iran. So my university's name is Kerman University of Medical Science. If you ask me about Kerman, it was relatively safe because the most affected areas were Tehran, Shiraz, Isfahan. But if you talk about Kerman, it was relatively safer. But the first, the tensions arose on 13th of June, if I'm not wrong. It was Friday morning, and we woke up. We saw Twitter there was bombardment of news that this place has been attacked, this place has been attacked, and that is the day when worry started. Actually, we were very uncertain about the situations. It was unfolding in a different way. Then the first preference that was the embassy gave it to the students of Tehran. Tehran, because since Tehran was very much affected, so the students in universities of Tehran, they were relocated to Qom first. Qom is a religious place in Iran. They were relocated first because at first priority was given to the safety of the students, to safety of the students, followed by the evacuation program. And there was one more university that's known as Urmia University of Medical Science. Urmia is another province in Iran. So they have a border, very near border with Armenia. So the first batch which arrived in India, that was from the Urmia University of Medical Science, and they were evacuated through the border of Armenia. Then it went for the students of Tehran. They were relocated to Qom, and from Qom they were again relocated to Mashhad. We are thankful to even the government of Iran who opened the airspace for the Indian students evacuation. And almost 70-80% of the students were evacuated from Mashhad airport. It was a direct flight of Mahan Air from Mashhad airport till Delhi. And I arrived early in this morning.
All right, Faizan Nabi, thank you very much for joining us here on the broadcast and giving us the details of how the evacuation process was carried out. And with that, that was all that we could pack in this edition of 6 Stories at 6. We will be back tomorrow, same time, with more agenda-setting news. Till then, thank you for watching. Coming up next after the break is Live and Breaking.
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates: IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
Excellencies, 2 days ago, in this very chamber, I made a direct appeal: give peace a chance. That call was not heeded. Instead, the bombing of Iranian nuclear facilities by the United States marks a perilous turn in a region that is already reeling. From the outset of the crisis, I have repeatedly condemned any military escalation in the Middle East. The people of the region cannot endure another cycle of destruction. And yet, we now risk descending into a rat hole of retaliation after retaliation. To avoid it, diplomacy must prevail. Civilians must be protected. Safe maritime navigation must be guaranteed. The Non-Proliferation Treaty is a cornerstone of international peace and security. Iran must fully respect it. And all member states must act in accordance with their obligations under the UN Charter and other rules of international law, including international humanitarian law.
For 40 years, the Iranian government has called for death to America and death to Israel, and posed a constant menace to the peace and security of its neighbors, the United States, and the entire world. U.S. military strikes targeted nuclear facilities in Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, with the aim of dismantling Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and stopping the nuclear threat posed by the world's foremost state sponsor of terror. This operation sought to eliminate a long-standing but rapidly escalating source of global insecurity and to aid our ally Israel in our inherent right of collective self-defense, consistent with the UN Charter.
مليان 安理会对维护国际和平与安全负有首要责任，面对重大危机不能无所作为。俄罗斯、中国、巴基斯坦已经提出一项安理会决议草案，呼吁立即无条件停火，保护平民，遵守国际法，开展对话谈判。我们期待安理会成员展现责任担当，共同支持该决议草案，推动安理会为维护国际和平与安全履责尽职。
لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله Southwest coming from the direction of Al-Udaid. Windows are shaking. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Probably Patriot. Allahu Akbar. Madam.
आपकी फेवरेट हुंडई कार्स पर मिल रही है अमेजिंग डील्स। वैसे लोगे तो आप हुंडई ही, चाहे दिल की सुनो या डील्स की, तो जल्दी चले आओ हुंडई शोरूम।
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग शिप भी बन सकती है।
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला। MDH।
La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Southwest coming from the direction of Al-Udaid. Windows are shaking. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Probably Patriot. Allahu Akbar. Madam. La ilaha illallah. لا إله إلا الله. Southwest, coming from the direction of Al-Udaid. Windows are shaking. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Probably Patriot.
Allahu Akbar. Madam.
Excellencies, 2 days ago, in this very chamber, I made a direct appeal: give peace a chance. That call was not heeded. Instead, the bombing of Iranian nuclear facilities by the United States marks a perilous turn in a region that is already reeling. From the outset of the crisis, I have repeatedly condemned any military escalation in the Middle East. The people of the region cannot endure another cycle of destruction. And yet, we now risk descending into a rat hole of retaliation after retaliation. To avoid it, diplomacy must prevail. Civilians must be protected. Safe maritime navigation must be guaranteed. The Non-Proliferation Treaty is a cornerstone of international peace and security. Iran must fully respect it. And all
कल तक आप सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता थे, गरीबों की, वंचितों की आवाज उठाने वाले माने जाते थे। आज आप देश के लिए खतरा बन गए हो। कल तक आप एक आम नागरिक थे, जिसको ना संविधान की धाराएं मालूम थी, ना संसद की प्रक्रिया। आज आप काल कोठरी के अंदर जेल में डाल दिए जाते हो। आपने कोई नारा नहीं दिया, कोई जुलूस नहीं निकाला, फिर भी गलती सिर्फ इतनी है कि आपकी सोच आजाद थी। एक क्षण, ये सुबह कितनी क्रूरता के साथ भारत की जनता के पर बीती होगी, इसकी कल्पना हम नहीं कर सकते। मेरे साथ 2 लोग जो मंच पर बैठे हैं, दोनों ने पल्ला झाड़ दिया कि हम तो उस वक्त जन्मे ही नहीं थे, मगर मैं पल्ला नहीं झाड़ सकता। मैं उस वक्त 11 साल का था। गुजरात में वैसे आपातकाल की असर बहुत कम हुई थी, क्योंकि वहां जनता सरकार बन चुकी थी, परंतु बाद में जनता सरकार भी गिरा दी गई और आपातकाल का कहर 1 साल के बाद गुजरात पर भी टूटा। हमने देखा है हमारे गांव के अंदर जनसंघ के कार्यकर्ता, संघ के स्वयंसेवक, कई संस्था कांग्रेसी, समाजवादी, सर्वोदयी, कई प्रकार के लोग जो अपनी अपनी विचारधारा के आधार पर भारत के नवनिर्माण की गति को, पुनर्निर्माण की दिशा को तय करने में लगे थे। वो
Well, there you heard Union Home Minister Amit Shah speaking on the eve of the 50th anniversary of the imposition of emergency in India. He's the chief guest at that event that has been hosted by the Bharatiya Janata Party. Now shifting our focus to, in fact, the conflict as far as Iran and Israel are concerned. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that he held back a more aggressive strike on Iran following a conversation with US President Donald Trump. Remember, Donald Trump dialed him just a while back, and now Israeli Prime Minister cited the call as a key reason for Israel's decision to show restraint after the initial attacks. This is as far as the conversation between Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister is concerned. Remember, after speaking to media and saying that he's not happy with Iran as well as Israel as far as their strike and counter-strike is concerned, now Israeli Prime Minister has cited the call as a key reason for Israel's decision to show some sort of restraint after the initial attacks. Meanwhile, unhappy with Israel, Donald Trump takes it out on Israel and Iran in a warning that he has given in. Listen in.
Dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that? Dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
And another statement has come in from US President Donald Trump. In a statement from White House, he has accused former US President Biden of allowing numerous supercells, quote-unquote supercell, into the country, claiming many came from Iran. Donald Trump added that hopefully we'll take care of them, hinting at a possible future action. So this is as far as the comment from Donald Trump is concerned. He has taken a jibe at former US President Biden, accusing him of allowing numerous supercells in the country, and he has in fact quoted supercells and claiming that many have come from Iran. Listen in.
Sleeper cells in the United States.
Biden led a lot of supercells, and Biden was an incompetent president and had no idea what he was doing. He hardly ever signed a document. Other people signed documents for him with the auto pen. It was gross incompetence. And among everything else, he let a lot of supercells in, many from Iran. But hopefully we'll take care of them. What Biden did to this country should never be forgotten.
Breaking news coming in. Israeli Prime Minister's office has revealed fresh details on the timeline of the strikes before and after the ceasefire with Iran. Israel says that it hit key regime targets in Tehran hours before the 7 a.m. truce, killing hundreds. In fact, as far as Iran is concerned, it has responded with missile attack, including one that killed 4 in Bir Shabba. Israel claims Iran violated the ceasefire minutes after it took effect, prompting a limited response. US President Donald Trump later urged restraint, praising Israel for achieving its war objective. So this is as far as the ceasefire is concerned. Israel has put out the timeline of the attack, saying that it has targeted key areas in Iran. Iran, on the other hand, we've seen those visuals also coming in of the attack on a building in Bir Shabba where 4 people have lost their life. In fact, there is a statement by Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, on the recent developments in West Asia. This is as far as India is concerned, and it says we have been following developments overnight related to the conflict between Iran and Israel, including the US action against Iran's nuclear facilities and Iranians' retaliation against US military bases in Qatar. While we remain deeply concerned about the prospects for overall and sustained regional security and stability, we welcome the report of a ceasefire between Iran and Israel and the role played by the US and Qatar in bringing this about. So their MEA saying that they welcome the ceasefire between the two nations and the role that the United States and Qatar played as far as this is concerned. This is a statement that has come from Ministry of External Affairs in India. They have welcomed the ceasefire between the two countries. So here are more details as far as this conflict is concerned. Under Operation Sindhu, 286 evacuees, including 281 Indians, 3 Sri Lankans and 2 Nepalese, arrived in the national capital today from Iran on a special flight. Minister of State has warmly received the group, and with this, the total number of Indians brought back from Iran, this conflict-ridden nation, has reached 2,576. And remember, India had said that it won't only evacuate its own citizens but also citizens of Nepal and also Sri Lanka. So the total number has now reached to 2,576, with at least 200 more Indians coming back to their nation today.
बहुत ही ज़बरदस्त नीति है मोदी जी की है और पूरे हिंदुस्तान को इस पर गर्व करना चाहिए कि मोदी जी जिस तरीके से अपने देशवासियों की परवाह करते हैं, उनको देखते हैं कि वो कोई मुसीबत में तो नहीं है, और अगर मुसीबत में होते हैं तो उनको अपने देश में वापस बुलाते हैं।
हमारी गवर्नमेंट ने अच्छा काम किया है, जिससे हमें ये वो लग रहा है कि बहुत अच्छा यही होना चाहिए भाईचारा के सब इतने सारे यानी जितने भी हमारे साथी थे वहाँ पे लोग रह रहे थे, कई हज़ार उनको लेकर आए वहाँ से।
बहुत शुक्रिया हमारी सरकार का, एम्बेसडर साहब ने बड़ा आराम दिया और कई दिन रखा, उन्होंने स्पेशल वैल्यू दी और बहुत ही अच्छा इंतज़ाम था और हमारी सरकार को बहुत ही थैंक्स।
And meanwhile, US President Donald Trump may have announced a ceasefire, but on the ground, missiles continue to hit residential buildings in southern Israel. Now, according to the rescue teams there, the death toll is mounting quick, with the search for survival still going on. Here's more.
Sirens, explosions and collapsing buildings. The war between Israel and Iran is far from over. Rescue teams pulling out dead bodies from under the rubble. Firefighters scanning the debris of what was a residential apartment before the missile impact. Iranian missiles shook the streets of Tel Aviv today as the fragile hopes of peace crumbled under fresh missile fire. US President Donald Trump announced a complete and total ceasefire between Israel and Iran after Iran's limited missile strike on a US military base in Qatar late Monday. But the reality on the ground tells a different story. Iran's foreign minister had set a clear deadline at 4 a.m. local Tehran time. If Israel stopped its strikes by then, Iran would halt its own. But even an hour after that deadline passed, the missiles kept coming. Israel's military sounded urgent warnings, confirming new missile launches from Iran. In the skies over Jerusalem, Israeli missile defense systems were seen intercepting incoming threats. Soon after, Israel's Home Front Command issued another nationwide alert, warning that yet another barrage from Iran was on its way. Trump, posting on his Truth social account, said the ceasefire would officially begin around midnight Eastern Time today. He called it an official end to the war. But on the ground, the war was far from over. Israel's paramedic service, Magen David Adom, confirmed that 3 people were critically injured after an Iranian missile struck a residential area. A 7-story building in southern Israel's Bir Shabba suffered a direct hit. The entire face of the building was blown apart. Rescue workers rushed to the scene. Israeli firefighters confirmed they retrieved 4 bodies from the rubble and were searching for more survivors. For nearly 2 hours this morning, waves of Iranian missiles forced Israelis across the country to seek shelter as sirens blared and explosions echoed. The launches came after Tehran's deadline, testing the very core of the ceasefire agreement. Trump's ceasefire plan, announced just hours earlier, has now been accepted by Israel. With missiles still flying and lives still at risk, peace remains a distant promise.
And our correspondent Nick is on the ground in Israel, bringing us the latest from the heart of the conflict. And as tensions escalate and strikes continue, Nick is tracking every small development, speaking to the locals and reporting live on how the war is unfolding in Israel's commercial capital. Have a look.
Behind me is one of the residential areas of Tel Aviv that was hit by the ballistic missile of Iran. You can see how extensive is the damage to tens of different buildings here all around. Many young Israelis are living here, going to the university, which is close to here, and a lot of security forces working now trying to rescue people that may be still in danger. In all of those buildings, all the area is completely destroyed from one ballistic Iranian missile. As well, Iran using illegal cluster munition on their missiles. That's why it is not just one big missile, but many small parts of the missile are also spread all around in radius of hundreds of meters, and they can explode any moment if somebody touch them, especially kids. That's why the security forces here continue to work and to reach each of those munitions.
And with this, we're taking a very short break. Coming up on the other side, after his telephonic conversation, Donald Trump makes another big claim, says Israel will not now bomb Iran. But despite Trump's claim, fresh explosions heard in Tehran. IDF strikes Iran's military radar site. This and much more on the other side. Stay with us.
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates: IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध, MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
विमल में गुलिस्तां के ये कुछ लजीज फरिश्ते जब साथ घुलें तो जी ललचाए और दिल कहे कि स्वाद की जुबान में खुद को ऐसे डुबाऊं कि निकल न पाऊं। विमल की जुबान कुछ है ही ऐसी, मानते हैं? विमल, बोलो जुबान कैसी?
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
Excellencies, 2 days ago, in this very chamber, I made a direct appeal: give peace a chance. That call was not heeded. Instead, The bombing of Iranian nuclear facilities by the United States marks a perilous turn in a region that is already reeling. From the outset of the crisis, I have repeatedly condemned any military escalation in the Middle East. The people of the region cannot endure another cycle of destruction. And yet, we now risk descending into a rat hole of retaliation after retaliation. To avoid it, diplomacy must prevail. Civilians must be protected. Safe maritime navigation must be guaranteed. The Non-Proliferation Treaty is a cornerstone of international peace and security. Iran must fully respect it. And all member states must act in accordance with their obligations under the UN Charter and other rules of international law, including international humanitarian law.
For 40 years, the Iranian government has called for death to America and death to Israel, and posed a constant menace to the peace and security of its neighbors, the United States, and the entire world. U.S. military strikes targeted nuclear facilities in Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, with the aim of dismantling Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and stopping the nuclear threat posed by the world's foremost state sponsor of terror. This operation sought to eliminate a long-standing but rapidly escalating source of global insecurity and to aid our ally Israel in our inherent right of collective self-defense, consistent with the UN Charter.
安理会对维护国际和平与安全负有首要责任，面对重大危机不能无所作为。俄罗斯、中国、巴基斯坦已经提出一项安理会决议草案，呼吁立即无条件停火，保护平民，遵守国际法，开展对话谈判。我们期待安理会成员展现责任担当，共同支持该决议草案，推动安理会为维护国际和平与安全履责尽职。
Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis chaired a meeting at his official residence in South Mumbai late last night. The meeting was chaired over the implementation of the three-language formula. Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, School Education Minister Dada Bhuse, and Minister of State Dr. Pankaj Bhoyer were present. An in-depth discussion was held on the new education policy. The meeting saw the status of all states to ensure that Marathi students are not disadvantaged under the policy. Furthermore, it was resolved in the meeting that all stakeholders must be consulted. Stakeholders include Marathi language scholars, literateurs, and political leaders. Maharashtra Chief Minister Fadnavis further said that a final decision will be made only after this consultation process is completed.
Hi, this is Chef Ranveer Brar. Guarantee you brilliance on behalf of IIHM.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला। MDH।
आपकी फेवरेट हुंडई कार्स पर मिल रही है अमेजिंग डील्स। वैसे लोगे तो आप हुंडई ही, चाहे दिल की सुनो या डील्स की, तो जल्दी चले आओ हुंडई शोरूम।
MDH की देगी मीरज।
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मिर्च।
Excellencies, 2 days ago, in this very chamber, I made a direct appeal: give peace a chance. That call was not heeded. Instead, the bombing of Iranian nuclear facilities by the United States marks a perilous turn in a region that is already reeling. From the outset of the crisis, I have repeatedly condemned any military escalation in the Middle East. The people of the region cannot endure another cycle of destruction. And yet, we now risk descending into a rat hole of retaliation after retaliation. To avoid it, diplomacy must prevail. Civilians must be protected. Safe maritime navigation must be guaranteed. The Non-Proliferation Treaty is a cornerstone of international peace and security. Iran must fully respect it. And all member states must act in accordance with their obligations under the UN Charter and other rules of international law, including international humanitarian law.
For 40 years, the Iranian government has called for death to America and death to Israel, and posed a constant menace to the peace and security of its neighbors, the United States, and the entire world. U.S. military strikes targeted nuclear facilities in Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, with the aim of dismantling Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and stopping the nuclear threat posed by the world's foremost state sponsor of terror. This operation sought to eliminate a long-standing but rapidly escalating source of global insecurity and to aid our ally Israel in our inherent right of collective self-defense, consistent with the UN Charter.
安理会对维护国际和平与安全负有首要责任，面对重大危机不能无所作为。俄罗斯、中国、巴基斯坦已经提出一项安理会决议草案，呼吁立即无条件停火，保护平民，遵守国际法，开展对话谈判。我们期待安理会成员展现责任担当，共同支持该决议草案，推动安理会为维护国际和平与安全履责尽职。
Trump says ceasefire. Iran says no such agreement. Trump embarrasses himself yet again with mediation hope. Why no one listens to Donald Trump? Debating tonight at 8 p.m.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hi there, very good evening to this Tuesday edition of This Is Exclusive. Early morning, friends, we woke up to that typical Trumpist announcement from his Truth Social handle that he had got a ceasefire between Iran and Israel, and the war was stopping, and that the world should go and give him a Nobel Peace Prize. He almost said that without saying that, which he has been doing so for a while. But even before those headlines could be processed, Iran sent in a volley of missiles into Israel, and Israel reciprocated. In fact, by evening, Israel had seen the most devastating of Iranian strikes, in which 4 of its citizens lost their lives in Bir Shabba. And on the Iranian side, there were multiple bombings to the extent that by evening, in fact, Donald Trump himself was frustrated enough to indulge in some name calling, singling out Israel for the massive bombings that have happened post the announcement of ceasefire that he had made in the morning. And in fact, so unhappy and frustrated was the American president that he even used the F word. We are not using it. We'll make you listen to what he said while trying to convince the Israelis and Iranians again that please, since he has announced or made the announcement, please pull back now. He flew out of White House and to Joint Base Andrews, from where he's been wheels up to participate in the NATO summit. And it seems by the time he lands, hopefully his word would have been listened to. But it seems for now, it's a bit of an egg on his face. That's our focus with an exclusive conversation with India's former Foreign Secretary Kanwal Sibal. Good ground reports from both Iran and Israel to give you an idea of how the day panned out post the ceasefire announcement of Trump. And then, of course, an exclusive on Operation Sindhu, India's massive evacuation drive from the Middle East. All that and more. Let's begin with the headlines.
We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Unhappy with Israel, Trump takes it out on Israel and Iran in an expletive-laden warning. US President Donald Trump dials Netanyahu, urging him to not strike and stop now. Despite Trump's claim, fresh explosions near Tehran, IDF strikes Iran's military radar site. Israeli President Isaac Herzog visits Bir Shabba after a deadly Iranian missile strike hits the city, kills 4. Welcome again, friends. The Middle East stands on the edge of chaos as President Donald Trump's much-touted ceasefire between Israel and Iran collapses in a matter of hours after he made that announcement. A deadly Iranian missile struck Bir Shabba. Israel is reeling with destruction and loss, while Israeli airstrikes pound military targets in Tehran, sending shockwaves through the region. With both nations pointing fingers and escalating retaliatory strikes, the promise of peace has given way to devastation on both sides. We have some reports. Let's have a look.
Now the security forces are entering the house and we should leave because it's not safe to be here, and they need to check if this house can collapse like any other houses here all around, because it's not safe. And now the residents of the house have a few minutes to take the most important stuff from their house before it probably will collapse. And you see, this is the reality in Israel. People becoming the targets of those Iranians' rockets. Now they have just a few minutes to take the most precious things, the precious ones, the most important things from their home before maybe it will collapse. Probably it is not safe anymore to live here, and all this neighborhood with a lot of those houses is completely destroyed just from one ballistic missile. This was just one of the places where the Iranian ballistic rockets hit. This place is one of the residential areas in Tel Aviv, and you can see how huge is destruction here all around. All this building is completely destroyed here behind me, and this was the target of Iran. This is just regular people living here, a lot of students, and also there is a lot of elderly population in this area, and see how destroyed all of this place, and this is just from one rocket.
All right, let's begin our conversation with the former Foreign Secretary Kanwal Sibal. Very good evening to you, sir. My first question, did Trump jump the gun? Did he misread? Why was he so off the mark, perhaps yet again?
Well, I saw something from the Jerusalem Post which said that the way he announced it and the timing was not how it was intended. But Trump, as you know, wants to take credit, as he did in the case of the India-Pakistan so-called ceasefire and his role in it. So he jumped the gun, he made a premature announcement, and now he's embarrassed, and the kind of language that he has used to attack, to criticize Israel, and in fact put the major blame on Israel, just goes to show that his inclination to play to the gallery and draw attention to himself and use foreign policy as a kind of a personal theater.
Yeah. Like, is he really embarrassed, or just we think that he's embarrassed? Because that's typical Trump. He can do that and, forget about it the next day.
Sorry?
So I was saying, is he actually embarrassed, or we think that he is embarrassed and he is not, because he can do such kind of things 5 times in a day and then forget about them?
No, I think he's not bothered about how the rest of the world looks at his image. My understanding is, rightly or wrongly, that he's far more concerned about his MAGA base, how people inside the United States would look at what he's doing, especially his base. So his foreign policy, a lot of it is directed at consolidating and appealing to his base, rather than being concerned about what other countries think, because he's virtually annoyed his partners, his allies, he's insulted them, he's made territorial claims, he has snubbed them personally, he's made remarks on them. So he's not bothered. So I think he's got a very thick skin, and he thinks that he can get away with whatever he says or does, because the fact is that unless, of course, in the elections to the House in a year or in about a couple of years' time, he pays a price for the policies he's been pursuing, and the impact of those policies on his base, he will not change, because
Mr.
he's
Sibal,
super confident that he's on the right track and he can say and do what he wants.
Mr. Sibal, just, with the benefit of your deep experience in diplomacy and foreign policy, you think Trump has been just indulging in information arbitrage, like in the case of India and Pakistan, since the Pakistanis were talking to the Americans, since the foreign minister of India was in touch with the Secretary of State in Washington, D.C., and since the Saudis were also talking to us, just like the Saudis were talking to the Pakistanis. The Saudis in this case were obviously the Qataris in this case were involved on both the sides. So because there was information flow, Trump just got hold of it and processed it in his own fashion, and then, made the announcement, like in the case of India, Pakistan, so in this case.
You're right. In fact, the Qataris have said, I think the Qatari foreign minister, he has said that he played a role after Iran bombed the American base in Qatar. The Qatari foreign minister spoke to the Americans, and he spoke to the Iranians.
Yeah.
And he says that he brokered the ceasefire.
Yeah.
So that also is very peculiar.
So you think, my last question before I let you go, you think this expletive-laden warning that Trump has given to both the sides, more to Israelis in fact, before he has, flown out of the United States for the NATO summit, is it going to work this time?
Sorry? The sound is not very good. We'll have to repeat it.
The expletive-laden warning that Trump has given to both Israel and Iran, you think now it will work on ceasefire?
No. This sound, your voice is.
Sir, my question was, now that Trump has again given a warning to both Iran and Israel, it did not work in the morning, but now would it work?
Look, again, the sound is not very clear, but let me understand what you're trying to say. The thing is that the ceasefire at the moment suits both sides because Iran has no air cover and Israel can freely attack targets in Iran. Iran has missiles. It was also hurting the Israelis very badly. Tel Aviv has suffered a lot of damage, and other areas in Israel, their Iron Dome hasn't worked very well. So both would have some interest in stopping this at this stage to prevent further damage. However, the issue is not that. The issue is what comes after. After the ceasefire, Israel will build up its defenses. Iran will build up its defenses. More importantly, the whole issue, the question of the nuclear program of Iran. How do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? Iran has said they're not going to cooperate with the IAEA, so the IAEA will cease monitoring that program. One does not know where the fissile material has gone. So the issue will remain. The issue will not get resolved. So I don't know how Trump or anybody is going to deal with the future of the relations between Israel and Iran, because there are a lot of gray areas that are still left. A lot of unresolved issues. The ceasefire is just a minor step. It doesn't mean peace. It doesn't mean peace at all.
My takeaway is that the timing was perhaps suited for both the sides on that note. Thank you so much, Mr. Sibal, for joining us with that perspective. And for those who might have just joined the broadcast, let's look at how the day panned out from the time that Donald Trump made that announcement on his Truth Social, through his Truth Social post, to the time that Iran and Israel again were at each other, sending in missiles in each other's direction with massive destruction on both the sides. And then, of course, Donald Trump again getting into the picture, hectoring both the sides with the use of expletives. Take a look.
In Bir Shabba of southern Israel, chaos and carnage followed a direct Iranian missile strike, one of the deadliest in recent weeks. Rescue teams pulled bodies from the rubble as streets lay blanketed with glass, debris, and scorched remains of shattered homes. This is the aftermath of a ceasefire that failed to hold.
What we've seen here is outrageous and extremely painful. That missile, which is one of the heaviest missiles of the Iranians, it's called Qadr. It's way above 400 kilos. Landed here specifically to kill women, children, old age, and people of ordinary lives. Demolished kindergarten and school, demolished apartments, and unfortunately had a heavy toll of 4 innocent civilians. I want to express my heartfelt condolences to the families.
Hours after a truce announcement, air raid sirens blared across North Israel. Israel claimed that Iran had violated the truce by launching missiles into its airspace, a charge that Tehran has denied.
לפני כניסת הפסקת האש לתוקף, הבוקר נורו כ-20 טילים מאיראן לאזורים שונים ברחבי הארץ, רובם יורטו. צוותי פיקוד העורף, כוחות ההצלה והביטחון, נמצאים כרגע בשטח ונותנים מענה באזורי הנפילות. לצערי, ישנם הרוגים ופצועים בזירת הנפילה בבאר שבע. חולצו מספר לכודים חיים. כוחות החילוץ של פיקוד העורף ממשיכים לסרוק בשטח.
Meanwhile, in Tehran, Israeli airstrikes struck military targets before dawn,
sending plumes of smoke into the sky. Having claimed a successful ceasefire, US President Donald Trump now stands globally embarrassed as in less than hours, both countries traded missiles.
I don't think so, but I'm not happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit, and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous. I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either. And all I do is play both sides. I'm going now, as you know, to NATO. Some of you are going with me, and I think it's going to be successful. We'll see. I'll let you know.
As of this morning, the fragile ceasefire brokered by the US has unraveled. The violations have prompted Netanyahu's ministers to order intense strikes on Tehran in retaliation. Iran, meanwhile, has said that its current focus is on confronting Israeli aggression. Trump claims to have been a successful mediator. Israel says all objectives of Operation Rising Lion has been achieved. But with the ongoing devastation, where is this conflict heading to?
All right, friends, India has been evacuating its citizens struck in the Middle East. Over 2,000, to be precise, 2,300 plus have been brought back in more than a dozen flights from nations like Jordan, from Egypt, from, of course, Israel and Iran. We have one such evacuee, and Ratndeep Chakrabarti, he's someone who was in fact reporting for us live from Israel. Ratndeep, thank you so much for giving us all that coverage from ground zero. But you are back. Please tell us how the Operation Sindhu is panning out, your takeaways.
Well, firstly, I would like to thank the government actually for evacuating all the citizens at such a short notice because a lot of the citizens were very frantic and they wanted to be evacuated at a very short notice. And the MEA contacted us, and with the help of the embassy in Israel. And India is the only country, by the way, which is evacuating citizens on both the fronts, from both Egypt and from Jordanian route. And it's a very difficult route to begin with. Honestly, yesterday, as we were in the bus, there were sirens blaring across Israel, missiles been fired from Iran. And it's a very risky operation, but it's been done with such precision that a lot of the citizens have been evacuated on both the days. And today as well, there will be another fresh set of evacuations being done. That's basically what the situation looks like when we look at what's happening in Israel right now with the evacuation.
All right, and it's to the credit of the government, of course, that not only we are evacuating Ratndeep, as you say, but we are evacuating from both the sides and with full cooperation from both the sides, and that gives an idea of the stature that India really commands, cutting across the divide.
No, I agree. In fact, I would like to tell you that I study in international school, and in my university, a lot of the students who comes from even countries like the US and the UK, even France, envies India because the command India has over these regions and the pace at which India could actually evacuate the citizens and with ease it could do it. It's remarkable. We didn't feel at any uneasy moments when we were in these regions.
Right.
And there was a full-blown war that's going on. So to evacuate citizens at this pace, it takes a lot of efforts.
Yeah, tremendous effort and tremendous heft with diplomacy. Thank you so much, Ratndeep, for joining us with that update on Operation Sindhu. With that, we come to an end of this broadcast, friend. This is all we could pack in the time that we had. Short break on the other side. Trending with Rakshita.
Go
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला। सिप सिप जीरा सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग शिप भी बन सकती है।
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
Operation Midnight Hammer. This was to be the final blow of the joint American-Israeli campaign to degrade, severely degrade or destroy the nascent nuclear facilities of Iran. It has been an extremely systematic campaign. The whole story, as we know, starts from 7th of October 2023, when Hamas struck and killed 1,700 Israeli citizens, innocent, murdered 1,700 Israeli citizens. In a very systematic and thorough manner, Israel first destroyed the Hamas, then it turned on and destroyed the Hezbollah, and then with the help of the United States, it severely degraded the Houthis. These are the 3 arms of the Iranian octopus. Having taken out the 3 arms, Israel now set its target on the head, that is, the head of the octopus, or Iran per se. The simple fact is, from 1992 onwards, Prime Minister Netanyahu has been warning the world about Iran's lurch towards the nuclear capability, and it is just a week away, a couple of weeks away. That is what has been said. But now they have hit this as hard as they possibly could in a very well coordinated joint operations that has been very clear-headed in its inception and in its conduct, right? So let's go to the final phases of this operation. Donald Trump gave 60 days to Iran to negotiate. The talks were still on. 61st day, Israel started the attack on Iran, right? 13th of June, Friday, unlucky day, lucky for some. 200 Israeli fighters gained complete air superiority by destroying the radars and air defense systems in western Iran. Decapacitate the Iranian leadership. 20 Iranian generals of the army, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, are killed and eliminated. They attack Natanz, they attack Isfahan, they attack other Iranian nuclear facilities. They also then, next day, they go on to extend the war. They attack the surface-to-surface missile launchers. They claim to have destroyed about 1/3 of them, over 225. Then they also repeated attacks on the nuclear facilities, and they hit the energy storage sites which store for domestic production. They did not so target Iranian oil exports, because that would have induced Iran to target the oil exports of the Middle East per se. But they focused on the domestic capability so that it would hurt the local people and incite them to possibly overthrow their regime as Israel had hoped. So the campaign from the Israeli rhetoric now had two major components. One, to destroy the nuclear facility.
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. रहो बेफिक्र.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ. डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा. अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ. सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र.
MDH की देगी मिर्च,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का.
MDH की देगी मिर्च.
Hi, this is Chef Ranveer Brar. Guarantee you brilliance on behalf of IAHM.
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल. ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े. क्या निराला MDH मसाला.
Operation Midnight Hammer. This was to be the final blow of the joint American-Israeli campaign to degrade, severely degrade or destroy the nascent nuclear facilities of Iran. It has been an extremely systematic campaign. The whole story, as we know, starts from 7th of October 2023 when Hamas struck and killed 1,700 Israeli citizens, innocent, murdered 1,700 Israeli citizens. In a very systematic and thorough manner, Israel first destroyed the Hamas, then it turned on and destroyed the Hezbollah, and then with the help of the United States, it severely degraded the Houthis. These are the three arms of the Iranian octopus. Having taken out the three arms, Israel now set its target on the head, that is, the head of the octopus, or Iran per se. The simple fact is, from 1992 onwards, Prime Minister Netanyahu has been warning the world about Iran's lurch towards the nuclear capability, and it is just a week away, a couple of weeks away. That is what has been said. But now they have hit this as hard as they possibly could in a very well coordinated joint operations that has been very clear-headed in its inception and in its conduct, right? So let's go to the final phases of this operation. Donald Trump gave 60 days to Iran to negotiate. The talks were still on. 61st day, Israel started the attack on Iran, right? 13th of June, Friday. Unlucky day, lucky for some. 200 Israeli fighters gained complete air superiority by destroying the radars and air defense systems in western Iran. Decapacitate the Iranian leadership. 20 Iranian generals of the army, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, are killed and eliminated. They attack Natanz, they attack Isfahan, they attack other Iranian nuclear facilities. They also then, next day, they go on to extend the war. They attack the surface-to-surface missile launchers. They claim to have destroyed about 1/3 of them, over 225. Then they also repeated attacks on the nuclear facilities, and they hit the energy storage sites which store for domestic production. They did not so target Iranian oil exports, because that would have induced Iran to target the oil exports of the Middle East per se. But they focused on the domestic capability so that it would hurt the local people and incite them to possibly overthrow their regime as Israel had hoped. So the campaign from the Israeli rhetoric now had two major components. One, to destroy the nuclear facility, the other to carry out regime change. And Richard Haas said, regime change, can be a wish. It cannot be a strategy. Because for regime change, you would have to put boots on the ground. Nobody, neither Israel nor the United States, is prepared to put boots on the ground. It has been designed as an entirely air power, missile power driven campaign, standoff, non-contact warfare. that may suffice to destroy or disable the Iranian nuclear capability, but there is no way that without a ground operation you can ensure regime change. The Israeli Ayatollah Khamenei has already designated 3 successors. How do we ensure that their successors are not even more rabidly radical? Regime change has its pitfalls. But now let us come back to the component which was the real aim. Both Israel and America have now clarified that their real aim was not at all or not so much regime change, which could be incidental to the weakening of the Iranian regime, but it was to destroy the nuclear facility, the nuclear capability of
From your smart screen to your smart television, the trending stories are always breaking the internet, and it seems like Diljit Dosanjh has landed himself in some hot soup after casting Pakistani actor Hania Amir in his upcoming film. The internet is not at all happy with the casting choice. A film board in India is calling for a boycott, a ban on Diljit Dosanjh. Also on the show, we bring you a heartwarming story from Tamil Nadu. Dr. N. Jensi, who becomes the first trans woman from the state to earn a PhD. We will hear her own story from herself, from the trailblazer herself, viewers. Also on the show, Trump. We'll get you how Trump has made a mockery of himself again as he tries desperately to pose as a peacemaker. India's Neeraj Chopra is back in action tonight after withdrawing. Meanwhile, we also have Maharashtra's very own Kolhapuris making it to the global stage. Also, the countdown finally for Axiom 4 is after multiple delays is on. All eyes will be on Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla. All this and more in today's power-packed edition. I'm Rakshita Mishra and this is Trending. Diljit Dosanjh is making headlines once again, and this time it's not just about his music or films. The singer-actor recently shared a cryptic Instagram post that sparked curiosity among fans. The message read, and I quote, "Censored before release." Now, this brief but intriguing post has generated buzz, especially because of the backlash that he has been facing over casting Pakistani actor Hania Amir in his upcoming film Sardarji 3. Now, there are a lot of reactions coming in with netizens calling to boycott Dosanjh and the film. Some of the reactions are on your screen, viewers, that we are going to run from the Twitter artists, from those on X, that are also going on to call him a traitor. Remember, there has been very strong action from the state, from the Indian state after the Pahalgam terror attack, and there was a ban on the Pakistani actors' Instagram accounts, social media accounts as well. Even the trailer was stopped. But we see that Diljit Dosanjh continues with this project. So on the other hand, Punjabi singer Bir took a swipe at the artist's choices and sense of responsibility amid the ongoing controversy. While he did not mention Dosanjh, the timing of the story could not be more obvious. He says that कई artists अपना ज़मीर ही बेच चुके हैं. That is what he has said. That means that some artists have sold off their conscience, sold off their soul. And meanwhile, viewers, the Federation of Western Indian Cinema Employees, that is FWICE, has issued a directive against Diljit Dosanjh and the makers of Sardarji 3 for casting Pakistani actor Hania Amir. Now, calling it an anti-national act, the film body has demanded an industry blacklist of Diljit Dosanjh, cancellation of his passport as well. In fact, I have the president of the FWICE, BN Tiwari, with us. Mr. Tiwari, what are your demands? अगर आप हमें एक करके बताएं कि जिस तरह से एक प्रधानमंत्री को पत्र भी लिखा गया है और ये मांग की जा रही है कि दिलजीत दोसांझ पर प्रतिबंध लगाया जाए।
जी, हमने लेटर लिख करके प्रतिबंध लगाने के लिए, क्योंकि जो देश के साथ नहीं है उसके साथ फेडरेशन या फिल्म इंडस्ट्री नहीं है, हमने उनको लेटर लिख करके मैंने भेजा है कि दिलजीत दोसांझ हमारे तमाम लेटर देने के बावजूद भी हमने सारी म्यूज़िक कंपनी को दिए। जब पहलगाम का हमला हुआ तब से हमने सबको लेटर भेजा और टोटल बंद किया गया है कि कोई भी यूट्यूब पर, कोई भी सोशल मीडिया पर किसी भी पाकिस्तानी आर्टिस्ट हो, सिंगर हो या किसी तरह का यूट्यूबर हो, उसको एंटरटेन नहीं किया जाएगा। इसके बावजूद भी जब ऑपरेशन सिंधु हुआ तो वहाँ पर जो हमारे सैनिकों ने पाकिस्तान में घुस करके आक्रमण किया तो उसके रिएक्शन में हानिया मीर ने जो गलत तरीके से कमेंट्स किया है कि इंडियन सैनिक जो हैं, हमारे सिपाही जो हैं वो कावर्ड हैं, रात में आक्रमण करते हैं। इस पर नहीं प्रोड्यूसर ने कोई आक्रमण किया, रिएक्शन दिया, नहीं दिलजीत दोसांझ ने कुछ कहा। तो ये देश के साथ यदि इस तरह की बात होगी, देश के साथ गद्दारी करने वाले के खिलाफ देश भले ही साथ दे दे, मगर फेडरेशन जो है, पूरी फिल्म इंडस्ट्री उसके खिलाफ है
जी।
हमने सबको लेटर भेज दिया है कि कोई भी आदमी दिलजीत दोसांझ के साथ काम तब तक नहीं करेगा जब तक फेडरेशन उनको क्लीन चिट नहीं देती है। और क्लीन चिट सिर्फ एक ही बात से मिल सकता है कि जब पाकिस्तानी जितने भी कलाकार हैं उनको फिल्म से निकाल दिया जाए।
जी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया मिस्टर तिवारी हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए।
इसके बावजूद भी उन्होंने क्या
जी हमारे पास समय की कमी कारण हम अभी आपसे विदा लेना चाहेंगे। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया लेकिन बीएन तिवारी अपनी आवाज़ उठाने के लिए और हमसे हमारे साथ बातचीत करने के लिए। वी नाउ शिफ्ट our focus to the other big story that we're tracking on trending tonight. Dr. N. Jency's journey is what we are going to bring to you now. It's truly inspiring. From humble beginnings in Tirutani, a small village in Tamil Nadu, she defied all odds and pursued her passion for education. From being mocked and marginalized to standing at the front of a classroom, Dr. Jency has now become Tamil Nadu's first trans woman with a PhD and is now an assistant professor in the English department at Loyola College of Chennai. And even with a dream that often felt too big for the world around her, Dr. Jency chose education as a path, and today she's made history, she's made people proud. And joining me is the trailblazer herself, Dr. N. Jency on Republic TV. Thank you so much, Dr. Jency, and congratulations. You're an icon for hundreds and thousands of people, not just in the country, but of course across the globe. Tell us something about your journey. What were the struggles, the obstacles you went through, and how did you just overcome all of them?
Good morning. Good evening, sorry. Thank you for this opportunity, first of all. Actually, you're asking for my issues. In school education, my college education, I didn't face any issues, only because of the education will helped me to escape from all the issues, because I was the topmost in my class and school educations and college educations. So education helps me a lot to escape from these kind of issues by maybe some other students, society and all.
I'm asking you...
I did my school in government school.
Ma'am, please go ahead, yeah.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead,
Yeah, I did my schooling in government higher secondary school, Orkepet. I am the first topmost student in my class. I did my college in Arulmigu Subramania Swamy Government Arts College. There only I was the topmost in my class and I am the gold medalist. Then I have completed my MA in Dr. Ambedkar Government Arts and Science College, MA and MPhil in the same college. MA also gold medalist. Only the PhD in Loyola College. Till my MPhil, I have completed all my degrees and school education only in the government institutions. I am very proud to say that, ma'am. So actually after my UG and school education, I have came to Chennai for my higher education. So after the higher education, so I have planned to go for my transformations, and I got a good guide. She accepted me as a PhD scholar, and then only I have completed my PhD also, and now I have joined as assistant professor in the Department of English, Loyola College. I am very happy.
There are many of people from your community and from from the trans community and many others who in fact struggle a lot, mentally. They get mental health issues because of what they really face in today's society. What is one thing you want to tell them, because you are a trailblazer, you've broken our barriers and you have really achieved your goals, living your life your own way. Any message you want to send out to them?
I want to tell one sentence. I want to be seen professor first, next second the transgender, without any stigma and all.
Yes, ma'am. All right, ma'am. Thank you so much, Dr. Jansi.
Big word for everything.
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us on Republic TV. And of course, you continue to inspire many others with your achievement, viewers. Now, we shift our focus to the other big story that we're tracking from across the globe. This is Donald Trump once again making a mockery of himself. It was at 3:32 a.m. when United States President Donald Trump declared that a ceasefire had been brokered between Iran and Israel. In his usual Trump style, he posted this message where he congratulated everyone, claiming that in the next few hours, the war between the two nations would be effectively over. Because now, mere hours after his post and the other congratulatory posts that followed after this, was the Iranian foreign minister clearing the air. As expected, he made it crystal clear that there was no ceasefire. So that was Arakshi who had rejected Trump's claim. Now, Trump in fact did not stop with that congratulatory post. Throughout the day, he made a series of erratic statements. He started with claiming that Israel and Iran came to him for a peace deal. And not the first time he has tried to take credit, ladies and gentlemen, for something he did not do. Then he reiterates that a ceasefire is in place and writing in all caps and practically imploring. And he says the ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it. And when paying no heed to Trump's peace call, Israel struck Iran. A sulky Trump told them to bring their pilots home. Not just this, he even posted that there is going to be no attack on Iran. The only problem with it, the attack had already taken place. And just a few hours back, Trump had a complete meltdown. This is what he had to say after his frustration.
Load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that? Dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
And we have breaking news coming in right now. The Iranian president says that the enemy has failed to achieve its goal in its aggression against Iran. Iran will not violate the ceasefire agreement unless the enemy does. Tehran is ready for dialogue and defending its people's rights at the negotiating table. That's the big breaking news we have. Iranian president says that it is ready for negotiation. This is the big breaking reaction by Iran in the latest. Tehran ready for dialogue and defending its people's rights at the negotiating table. That's the highlight of this statement coming in from the Iranian president. The enemy fails to achieve its goals in its aggression against Iran, says the Iranian president. So viewers, Back-to-back developments coming in from West Asia. And now the president of Iran has made a big statement about negotiation. That's the big breaking news we have right now. The Iranian president has claimed that that Tehran is ready for dialogue. So the Iranian president makes a big announcement, Masoud Pezeshkian, about coming on to the negotiating table. Iran will not violate the ceasefire agreement unless the enemy does. So that's what Iran has said. Remember, this coming in right after the ceasefire deal had collapsed, and we saw Iran continuing to strike in Israel, Israel continuing to hit back. And we have, in fact, we will get you more information on that. But right now it's time to now we get back on trending and take a look at all the trends that are running hot on social media, breaking the internet today. And after Diamond League, Neeraj Chopra is back in action, viewers. Today, Olympic medalist Neeraj Chopra is all set to compete at the Ostrava Golden Spike, a World Athletics Continental Tour Gold meet, following his recent victory at the Paris Diamond League. The event marks his first appearance at Ostrava after withdrawing from the previous two editions due to injury. Tripura has now become fully literate, the third Indian state to achieve this feat after Mizoram and Goa. Now, 23,184 adults have learned to read and write under a central education program. Chief Minister Manik Shah has called this achievement an important step towards Prime Minister Narendra Modi's goal of Viksit Bharat by 2047. Air Force and armed medical forces took strong as an epitome of selflessness. Once again, they airlifted a liver and 2 kidneys from the command hospital in Pune, bringing them all the way to Army Hospital in Delhi. Organs were donated by the brain-dead dependent of a serving soldier. This selfless act has revived 3 lives, upholding armed forces' duty beyond national security. South Indian film actor Srikanth is arrested by the Greater Chennai police in connection with a narcotics case. He's a very well-known star, appeared in over 54 films, including several in Telugu and Malayalam. Lin Toichanambam from Manipur is the first Indian judoka to win gold at the Berlin Junior European Cup 2025. She competed against 37 countries and delivered a stellar performance. Lin Toi also defeated a top-seeded judoka from Poland, securing a landmark win for India. It is a giant leap for Indian judo on the global stage. In a heartwarming moment that went viral, Indian student Rahul Chillar chanted Shankar Bhagwan Ki Jai at his graduation ceremony in Canada. And to his surprise, the crowd joined in, creating an unforgettable moment. The spontaneous outburst of cultural pride took place at the Saskatchewan Polytechnic's convocation. As the video racked up views, social media erupted with enthusiastic comments.
बोल शंकर भगवान की बोल शंकर भगवान की बोल
The annual music festival, the Fête de la Musique in France, with a large crowd, was attacked by syringes. The attack injured at least 150 people. A prior warning about the attack was circulated online before the event. It included a post by an influencer who said that social media users were urging attacks on women using syringes. 12 people have been arrested by the police so far. On iconic Kolhapuri chappals, handmade leather sandals rooted in centuries of Indian tradition, just made an unexpected appearance on the global stage. The Prada Spring-Summer 2026 runway. The internet has erupted. While some users celebrated the global spotlight on Indian craftsmanship, others weren't impressed. Many called it a repeat of the infamous Scandinavian scarf episode when Western brands styled it chunni and called it Nordic minimalism. One comment on X accused Prada of stealing the design and not giving due credit to the origins of the style. After multiple delays, it seems like Axiom 4 mission finally has a launch date. The mission carrying India's group captain Shubhangshu Shukla is set to take off at 12:01 p.m. tomorrow Indian Standard Time from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. It will reportedly land at the International Space Station at 26th of June, 4:30 p.m. after a journey of 28 hours and 30 minutes. So viewers, this is not the first launch date for Axiom 4. This mission has been postponed multiple times, 5 times to be exact at least. And it was originally set to take off on the 29th of May, then it changed to the 8th of June, then 10th of June, which became 11th of June and then 19th of June. In fact, there was a report of it being again launched on the 22nd. Again, there was no talk about that later. The crew is now all set to take off on what looks like a promising new launch date, the 26th of June. In fact, the mission is exciting for the Indians because India's in fact, he is Indian Air Force officer. He is Group Captain Shubhangshu Shukla, serving as the pilot for Axiom 4. But what is he taking with him in this 14-day mission? That's very interesting. As a true Indian, he cannot go without sweets, even in space. So, Indian sweets like amras, gajar ka halwa, moong dal ka halwa, all making it to the mission. It will be in space. And so is Joy. Now, Joy is a small white toy swan that he said would be the 5th crew member on Axiom 4. In fact, Shukla also revealed, or Shuks as he's known, that he was carrying something up to ISS, the International Space Center, for his mentor, Rakesh Sharma, the first Indian astronaut to land in space, and that he would present it to him once he returns. In fact, he refused to divulge what the souvenir would be and said it will be a surprise. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Trending. Viewers, we'll be right back tomorrow, same time, with more trending stories. Thanks for watching.
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most